It's a Snoopy cup. Isn't that cool? It has Snoopy and Woodstock opening presents. Snoopy and Woodstock opening presents, and it is, it's July, so timely mug. Everybody always talks about, especially today, thriving instead of just bare survival. And I find that really interesting because of how difficult times have become for people, that we are getting into a rat race about how to absolutely thrive 100% of the time, like being the absolute best version of ourselves, regardless of what circumstances we're going through. When so many of us feel like we can hardly dig ourselves out of our beds every morning. So this is a video about how to survive when things feel like they're falling apart. Things don't necessarily actually have to be falling apart for them to feel like they're falling apart, but this covers both of those things, I think. So I've gotten my therapist's approval and my girlfriend's approval and my best friend's approval on this list. So you have the triple seal of approval. And my own, that's a quadruple. So this will be fun. Some caveats. One, this can't really fix economic anxiety, because economic anxiety is just a product of real economic stress most of the time. So yeah, I'm sorry if you feel anxious about your monetary situation nowadays. What helped me out with that is budgeting, and I'll get to that later. Another caveat, we're going to talk about things like grief and forgiveness in the first part of this video. And these processes look very different for very different people. For all kinds of people, these processes look wildly different. So make sure that you don't take the things that I'm saying as gospel for exactly what you should do, just more as a framework of like understanding how somebody else has managed to survive when things have felt like they're falling apart. Because that is the takeaway, not like exactly what I've done. Now, if you find that exactly the things that I've done are beneficial for you, then that's great too. And I figured for such an intimate and unscripted video, we could have a little sleepover. So we're here in the bed. I have my chamomile tea. I absolutely love. If you take nothing else from this video, Tazo chamomile tea is amazing. Okay, so forgiveness and grief. These are two things that are very, very related. And at first you might think, oh, why is that? Forgiveness is something that you do to people that are alive, and grief is something that you do about people that are dead. Well, it's not that simple. I think that the core of forgiveness and grief in this context is not what happens when you do it, but what happens when you fail to. If you have someone in your life that you find is chronically angry, because we all get angry at random stuff sometimes, like even the absolute nicest people that I know in my life will get angry at people on the road sometimes, or when someone bumps into them in public or whatever, like just like some random things, like something can be going wrong in their day and then it just sets them off and they get a little angry. But what I mean chronically angry is just people that whenever you interact with them, they are always irritated. They have a very, very short fuse and will yell or raise their voice or get physical with things very, very easily, when that would take a normal person like to be pushed to their absolute breaking point. And I find that when I'm talking to someone that's chronically angry and I'm sussing out what's going on in their life, just because I'm always curious about people, I'm trying to learn as much about people as I can. It normally goes back to either they've lost something and failed to process it, or somebody has wronged them and they have failed to process it. Forgiveness is just the processing and resolution of emotions regarding somebody who has wronged you, or something that has wronged you, or taken away something that you love or care about, whether that be your peace or your autonomy or even a possession, whatever. And grief is the process of resolving emotions related to the loss of someone or something. And these are very, very related. And if you fail to properly forgive somebody, or if you fail to properly grieve something or someone that you've lost, you are likely going to face bitterness and resentment and anger. The longer and longer you go failing to forgive or grieve, the longer it is that you will feel those emotions, and the stronger they will become over time. And I know this from experience. My mother passed away when I was in grade school, and basically until I ever got to college, I had failed to properly grieve that loss. Instead, I effectively acted like nothing had really happened. You know, it's normal for me not to have a mom, because all I really wanted to feel was normal. And because of that, I failed to process and understand what I had lost. And since I got to college and I started living on my own, and I was coming to terms with being an independent person and figuring out what that meant for me, I started to come to terms with the lack of a motherly role in my life and how that has impacted me in various negative ways. And not only have I had to grieve that in various ways, I write songs, I pray, I go on walks and just talk to myself, I cry, I listen to music and watch movies and eat food that remind me of this person and the things that all the memories that I shared with them. And as I've gone through that process, I have not only been able to get myself very early in the stages of resolving those emotions, but also I've been able to simultaneously forgive my mom, who I didn't know that I had blamed for all of these things, but I had been blaming her for these things. I was able to forgive her in retrospect for the things that have happened in my life that I feel like I would be better off without. The reason that this is number one on the how to survive when things are falling apart list is because the first step to surviving and continuing to live is to get a fresh slate for yourself, to attempt to get as clean of a slate as possible in your mind. Because, you know, when you can have all of the best ingredients that you want in your kitchen to make whatever meal you want, but if your counter is cluttered and dirty, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to even begin to piece together how to make that meal than if the counter was clean. So we need to try to get our environment in our head as clean as it can be, so it becomes easier for us to think through the next steps of how to keep ourselves alive and moving. Because if we are lost in the morass of bitterness and anger and guilt and frustration and resentment, if all of these negative emotions are packed up in our brain, taking up all of that space, it's going to be a lot harder to survive in the first place. And by survive, I mean like get by. It's going to be a lot harder to get by. And when I say get by, I mean feeling like you are at least at baseline or happier the majority of days. Not, you know, feeling like every night you're crying yourself to sleep, or having trouble getting out of bed in the morning or whatever. This isn't thriving. It's not like we're trying to exercise like 5 times a week and go on a 100% diet or whatever. We're just trying to survive so that we can get used to feeling what survival feels like. So forgiveness and grief are the most important first steps of righting the wrongs in our life so that we can move forward. You can't drive while looking in the rearview mirror. Now, when you change lanes, it's helpful to look in the rearview mirror to understand what is behind you and the context of the things behind you, so you can make an informed decision on how you move and when. In the same way, whenever you decide to change something in your life, it's helpful to look back at your past experiences to understand how they have affected you and how that should inform your decision moving forward. But failure to properly process things that have happened in the past will prevent you from ever driving forward or ever doing anything but reversing, if we're being honest. So that's number one. Number two, and again, this is a survival list. This is not a thriving list. To survive, you need some form of connection or community in your local environment. This is crucial to survival because without it, depression, anxiety, loneliness, all of these things have significantly negative health impacts and decrease our lifespan significantly when we face them. This is why we call loneliness an epidemic nowadays and not just a problem. So how did I find local community? In terms of friends, I made a lot of friends at work by taking steps to organize events for people to go to. I planned hangouts. Like there's one night where where I cooked a huge lasagna for my friends and made a homemade garlic knots. The lasagna was homemade too. I hear it was really good. I'm sorry I couldn't invite any of you. We just sat around and talked and played some video games, and it was a really good time with a few of my friends from work, and we got closer and we talk outside of work and we hang out outside of work, and it's great because I put myself in that position of vulnerability to accept people into my life because I knew that that was necessary for me to survive. I'm also a member of a church. I will get into my faith in a future video because I'm going to do a whole thing on how the American government has corrupted Christianity, which that alone should tell you where my faith leanings are in terms of being a Christian. I am a Christian, but I think it's more accurate to call me a follower of Jesus than it is to just call me a Christian because of the baggage that comes with the word Christian nowadays. So I am a member of a church. I've met a lot of my friends at church. I've held on to friends from college that I still talk to and hang out with to this day. And I think that I'm not special in that I did not luck into anything and I did not do anything that you could not do yourself to find people, barring extenuating circumstances, which I'm sure that if you have some objection of like, well, but blank, 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 maybe things are different for you. But the vast majority of you have the same resources that I do. You have local social groups that you can join. You have, you probably have things that you're interested in. And 99% of the time, something that you're interested in has a group locally that is looking for more people that are interested in that thing. People like people and want to see more people that are into the things that they're into. So we have to take initiative, which is very hard, but we're talking about survival right now. We're legitimately talking about survival right now. Again, loneliness and depression and anxiety have severe negative health consequences, and I know this from personal experience. This is life or death that we are talking about, and this is very important. We're social creatures, and we need to be social in person, not just through our computer screens and the blue light. So I have continuously gone out and searched for things that I'm interested in and showed up to things that I'm interested in and asked people about their lives and gotten to know them, and they've become my friends, whether that be through church or through work or through social groups at college. I met some really good friends just showing up to the English Majors Association at my school, and I wasn't even an English major. I just liked poetry and writing. So I showed up and made some good friends. I tried out for a performance troupe at UCI called Schrodinger's Cast. If you have never heard of 30 Plays in 60 Minutes, you should Google it. It's really cool. But I thought it was interesting. I tried out. I got in and met some really good friends there that I still really, really appreciate to this day. Like when I was in Australia for 6 months doing my study abroad, I was very into Ultimate Frisbee, and I joined an Ultimate Frisbee team and made some good friends through that. Like I just found things that I was interested in, and I went out and saw if there were other people that were interested in those things in my community. And then if there were, cool, I'm going to go and do that. And it made life so much easier when I was able to feel like I was living it alongside other people. And I say that like it's in the past tense. Life is so much easier, and I am adequately surviving because I know that there are other people near me geographically that are living that life with me and going through the same things that I'm going through. That is invaluable, and that is crucial. Forgiveness and grief, setting the slate clean, and finding community in your local environment. Very, very important things. Now, we also have to accept that things might always be bad and try to live the best life that we can despite that fact. Or I guess in spite of that fact. Things might always suck, things have always sucked in the past, and things will probably continue to suck well into the future. We're not going to create a utopian society tomorrow or the next day or the next day or probably the next day. So we have to instead reconcile the things that are bad and come to understand what they are and how they affect us, if they affect us directly. And then grieve what we have lost through those bad things, whether that be grieving the loss of our environments or grieving the loss of loved ones that had succumbed to natural disasters or tragedies, or grieving the loss of, frankly, the loss of community that we have faced since at least the pandemic, if not since the rise of the internet. Or we must forgive people that have wronged us. And this is incredibly difficult, but it is also incredibly essential. And I mean forgive anyone that has wronged us. Anyone that has wronged us. We have to practice allowing ourselves to move on from things that are in the past. And when things are bad, which they will probably always be, this is a continual process of forgiveness and grief that we must cycle through over and over and over again. And the sooner that we get used to it, the easier it becomes, and the more intuitive it becomes, and it becomes like second nature at a certain point. I don't feel this with grief, but I'm starting to feel this with forgiveness. The more that I'm able to look at somebody that has wronged me in the eyes and say, I forgive you for what you have done. Do not worry about it. It's okay. The more and more that I'm able to do that, the more peace that I'm able to have. And the more that I'm able to say the words, I don't hate anything, but I dislike blank, blank, blank. I don't hate this person. I just dislike this thing that they've done, but I forgive them for that. Those practices help us through the process of accepting when things are bad and moving forward anyway. So things might always be bad, and they probably will always be bad, but that hasn't stopped people before, and that should not stop you. You are no worse than anybody else that has lived through tragedies, and you are no better than anybody either. That is important. That is very important. The next one is don't be afraid to feel things or to cry about things. Where basically all of this so far has been talking about processing emotions, because when we fail to survive, that means that we are failing to fundamentally process what is occurring in our lives, and it is weighing us down so significantly that we cannot move forward. So an important part of processing our emotions, aside from the logical and rational responses of forgiveness and of grief, we also need to feel our emotions. Big shocker. And I'm sure that you've heard your therapist, if you have one, say that you need to feel your emotions. Like when you're sad, you need to feel the sadness. And I didn't really understand what that meant until I realized that whenever I get anxious, I have like this cloud that it feels like my brain gets enveloped in. And there's like a fog of war, but it's my brain. And any time that I tried to like do things to escape that, like, drink more caffeine so I feel more alert, or go on a run or whatever, it would just get worse. But if I would sit in it and understand, like, I'm feeling this weird brain fog right now, and just come to experience the feeling and let it happen to me and stop trying to fight it, the sooner that my anxiety was relieved in those like attack moments. In the same way, if you feel like you're unable to grieve or forgive somebody, then perhaps you haven't even felt the emotions that those events or those people have dealt to you in the first place. And if we do not feel our emotions, then we do not live. Life is like a life of survival is one where we are able to perceive and react and perceive and react and learn over time how to perceive and react better. And if we're not processing our emotions, then we are preventing ourselves from perceiving future events in the first place, because we haven't even perceived the events in the past in their entirety. So it's also important to not respond to the siren's call of short form content and distractions. I love Love Island, great show. But if I'm feeling sad, I'm not going to watch Love Island because it's going to make me forget about the sadness. And if I'm feeling sad, that means that my body and my brain are telling me that there is something wrong in my life. And forgetting about that emotion is not going to get rid of that thing. In fact, it might just compound the effect of that thing just being there in your brain. And until you feel that emotion and let your body and your brain process what they're trying to tell you, it'll just keep getting worse. So you have to let yourself feel things. You cannot desensitize yourself to things, because that is how we lose empathy. That is how we lose friendships. That is how we forget how to forgive and grieve. And that is how we become lonely and depressed and anxious. And that is not survival in the first place. That is not survival. Bed rotting is called bed rotting because you rot. Rotting is the decomposition of food and organic matter. That is not survival. Don't open TikTok when you feel sad. You can throw on music that helps you process your emotions, great. But don't distract yourself, because in fact, you will just feel worse for longer anyways. Next, we do actually have exercise and go outside. This is crucial for survival. Now, again, I'm not saying 5 days a week or whatever of exercise. What I am saying is go outside for 10 minutes on a walk whenever you feel stressed. Just be a human being in nature as much as you possibly can. And if you live in the depths of a smoggy urban environment in whatever country, the United States, fuck it, then see if you can locate an arboretum or a greenhouse or a community garden of some kind and be with some kind of greenery, because I assure you that it does exist, because there are other people that also like nature in urban environments. And at absolute worst, just drink water and breathe air, but preferably go outside and move your body, because again, feeling things, because of how important it is to survive, feeling things happens when your body is allowed the space to be your body and your mind isn't taking up all of the agency of your entire being. Going on a walk, moving your body about, and breathing in fresh air, getting those physical sensations will help just a little bit of bringing your attention back down from your brain and into the rest of your being, which will help it become easier to process things like your emotions, like sadness or anxiety or grief or whatever. And if you ever notice that talking to yourself on a walk or thinking on a walk is just much easier than in your house sitting there, the increased blood flow and the increased attention to your body, it helps a lot. Next, vulnerability with those that you care about. This is also very important for survival, because if we feel unable to be vulnerable, loneliness, depression, anxiety, we're basically trying to do antidotes to loneliness right now. Loneliness comes in many forms, and one of them is the feeling that you lack intimacy with any other person. And believe you me, I have had plenty of time in my life where I feel like I've lacked intimacy with people that are supposed to be close to me, whether that be my parents or my closest friends or significant others, whatever. But those moments are solved with clear communication and vulnerability. When I'm able to share parts of myself that I'm afraid to share, because caring about someone is inherently vulnerable. But being able to allow yourself to be cared for and to trust that someone cares for you is much more vulnerable than caring about someone. And if we're unable to care about somebody and we're unable to form emotional bonds with people and we're unable to join communities near us and we're unable to whatever, we cascade all the way back down, if we're unable to be vulnerable with people, then we're unable to forgive. If we're unable to be vulnerable with ourselves, and if you're watching this video, I figure that you care about yourself. And being vulnerable with people that you care about includes being vulnerable with yourself and confronting yourself with things that you are afraid of how you'll react. If we are unable to be vulnerable, then we are unable to survive, because living a completely guarded life from every other person and ourselves is not surviving. It's rotting. A grape cannot continue to live when it is apart from the vine, and we are like grapes on a vine. The vast majority of us are hardwired, programmed to be in community with each other. And we just came out of a pandemic. Made that way more difficult. It made it way more difficult. But we're supposed to be in community with each other, and you cannot be in community without being vulnerable. Now, your comfort zone is why you are unhappy. Okay, So we're going to talk about unhappiness now, because lack of satisfaction in life and unhappiness are core reasons why people lose ambition, and they lose a sense of agency in their lives, and they then lose the ability to make change in the first place. And if you cannot change and adapt to situations, you're not surviving. So let's talk about your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is why you're unhappy. And that means that in order to become happy, if you're unhappy, you need to leave your comfort zone, which is scary. Oh my gosh, it's scary. It is. But think about it this way. If you are always in your comfort zone and you are always unhappy, then your comfort zone becomes your unhappiness. If you're only ever doing things that make you feel comfortable and also you're unhappy, then you will never become happy, because you will never leave your comfort zone, because your comfort zone has become your unhappiness. So it is crucial to identify situations that you know logically will benefit you in some way, like joining that sports league, or going to that art class at the local library, or leaving your job for something else that might pay a little less, but will be much more satisfying to you and will help you meet people that care about things that you care about, or joining that church, or whatever it is. Once you identify that that thing has made you uncomfortable thinking about it, like, I haven't done that before, I don't know what to do, that is a sign that that is a good thing for you, likely, assuming that your comfort zone has become your unhappiness and your unhappiness has become comfortable. So it is essential for you to learn that discomfort is the key to happiness, always. Now, this is not to say that every situation that is uncomfortable is going to make you happy. That's obviously not true. But I find that I feel that discomfort and uncomfortable situations are different types of things. Discomfort feels like, I haven't done this before, I don't know how it'll affect me. Discomfort is anxious, and uncomfort is distressful. And those are different things. Anxiety can be distressful, but anxiety is worrying about the future, and distress is agonizing in the present. And those are different things. So we need to step out of our comfort zones if we would like to survive in this world. Growing pains when you're a kid are very difficult. They are painful, but the pain is required for you to grow. You have to push the bounds of the sphere that you've locked yourself in, or the bubble that you've created for yourself of things that are possible for me and things I feel are not possible for me. And you just need to keep pushing it open and open and open and open. And the more things you'll be able to do, and the better you'll be able to react to situations that occur to you, and you will begin to be able to survive. Great. Now, one of the last ones, stop paying attention to the shoulds. They're very unhelpful for survival. Well, what is a should? A should is like, I should be a lawyer because somebody told me that I should, or society told me that I should. I should not be a janitor because society told me that that is a low job, which is stupid, by the way. There's not any such thing as a low job for the average person. Not like trading Forex is somehow a high job. That might be low. But, being a plumber or a janitor or a food service worker or a waitress or a waiter, those are not low jobs. But I digress. Paying attention to shoulds when you're trying to survive will paralyze you, because survival is not about thriving in terms of society's expectations for what thriving looks like. Survival means surviving and doing what you need to do to keep going. And what you need to do will likely never be what society or the idols in your life say that you should be doing, because there's a survivorship bias going on there. The people that you look up to are likely the people that have been successful at thriving, doing more than just surviving. And they don't have to focus on the things that, they don't have to focus on the times where they were just getting by every day and actually getting by. So the advice they give is likely poor about you should be doing this or you should be doing that. Media at large has its agendas. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's just media is not inherently accurate to how life really is in the world today. and often it is attempting to paint a portrait that is inaccurate, and therefore its shoulds are inaccurate and unhelpful. I'm not saying that the shoulds are necessarily bad. They can help you aspire to be a great person, but when you're trying to survive, shoulds are just unhelpful. They don't matter. They don't do anything for you. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Focus on what you need to be doing for yourself in any given moment or on any given day, and let future you worry about future you. But right now, if you're struggling to put food on the table and you are only looking for like nursing jobs or computer science jobs because you've been told that you should be smart enough to be a computer scientist, you can't afford to let that should impact your life. You really need to just get any job that you can to pay the bills. That's what I mean. Shoulds are unhelpful. They place expectations on you that are unrealistic for your circumstances and will actually harm you in the process of you trying to chase them. Not a good idea. Do not let shoulds impact your life. And in fact, once you liberate yourself from the shackles of shoulds, which I have not liberated myself from the shackles of shoulds, but my life has become less influenced by shoulds as I have continued to grow, you will find it a lot easier to do the things that you felt like you should have done before you let the shoulds leave you. What do I mean by that? Well, I always felt like if I wanted to write really good songs, then I should be writing a certain amount of songs every week. And that's not productive at all. To force creative output like that, you will burn out quickly. And when I stopped letting the should of the expectation of writing a certain amount of songs per week get to me, the sooner I was able to actually write more songs, because I didn't have the pressure of the expectation hovering over me at all times. So if you would like to survive, you can't be thinking about the shoulds. You have to be thinking about what you need to do right now. Shoulds are not helpful. Shoulds are not helpful. Do not let the shackles of shoulds control you. Let's talk about a couple of the resources that have helped me to end this video. In terms of economic anxiety, I'm not sponsored by anything that I'm about to recommend to you. You Need a Budget, the app and website, has been extraordinarily helpful for me in terms of managing my money. It is just an envelope system, but digitally. If you don't know what an envelope system is, then I would Google that, because this video is already much too long. But yes, You Need a Budget, very, very good for me in helping me understand like where all my money is going when I spend it, so that I've been able to build a sizable emergency fund and contribute a significant portion towards retirement. And I do not worry about money anymore. I've not worried about money ever since I started using this budgeting app. Well, I worried for the first couple months when I was confronted with my spending patterns, but then once I changed them and was able to see where my money was going, I've built my age of money up to like around 50 days. Like the money that I'm spending today, I made up almost 2 months ago. I feel good, and I do not make a lot of money. Do not get it twisted. I do not make a lot of money. This channel makes me maybe a couple $100s a month, and then I have a normal job that I don't make that much. Let's just say that. Now, I also have a lot of long distance friendships that I have had to maintain. My best friend is long distance, along with my other best friends. I don't really rank my friends, but my best friend is long distance. The other friends are long distance. Great. Regular texting, sharing mundanity with each other is very important. Send your friend a letter. It's pretty cheap. Send your friend a letter. They'll appreciate having something handwritten by you that they can remind themselves about your friendship with, and you'll appreciate writing them a nice, thoughtful message, and they'll probably write one back to you if they're actually your friend and you're not stalking them. Regular calls are very important. Games. There's websites that have live card decks that you can invite people, and just you can play card games. You can play GeoGuessr. You can watch movies with YouTube Party or whatever the apps are that let you synchronize your video. You can watch YouTube videos, whatever. It is just very important to find things that you can do with each other on a relatively regular basis. Because if you are living in bumfuck North Dakota, and all of your friends live in California or whatever, then, maybe you won't find local community, but at least you can find community with those that used to be local to you through the power of the internet. It's great. Also, check out Caroline Winkler. She has some amazing guides on how to make friends in your 20s, or how to live in a new city. You know, she is why I'm in this bed right now, because some of her videos are like this, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to do that kind of format. So yeah, just what are other things that have helped me? Inexpensive gym memberships are really good. Also, if you work at like a big corporation, see if you get any like free crap that you can use, like a free therapy service or meditation service or free like gym membership or anything like that. Like, just see what you can get for free. Or, you know, in your local community, like see if your library has like free resources that they can give you or things like that. You know, if you're in need right now, there are plenty hotline and helpline that you can call that can point you to resources to help you. No matter what happens in your life, though, the falling apart experience is always a learning opportunity and an opportunity for growth. And it's very important to remember that. And it is not something that you will feel in the moment of falling apart. You will not feel that, but it is important that when you do not feel the things, like when you don't feel like you're able to forgive somebody, or you don't feel like you have the space to grieve, it is important that you consciously direct yourself back towards that space of saying, well, I know that I don't feel like I need to forgive this person, but I need to forgive this person, and I am going to do all that I can consciously to start that process. And the same goes for learning during the falling apart experience. When it feels really bad, it's going to feel really bad, but you need to consciously remind yourself to look for the places where you can grow, because growth also feels bad pretty damn often. I don't know, that was a lot of crap that I threw at you. I'm going to edit this down, but hopefully there's some productive stuff in there. If not, then I'll re-record this tomorrow. But yeah, we're in this together, and we need not forget that. For every one of you, there is 1,000 others that know just what you're going through, and they're going through it too. Be the example for people like you. Be the example for people like you, that things can work out for the better. All right, I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.